All right, America, let's talk elections. Buckle up, because this ride through history is going to be both enlightening and entertaining. That wonderful, wacky system where you, the people, get to choose who runs the show. It's democracy in action, folks. Or at least that's the idea. Sometimes it feels more like a circus, doesn't it? It hasn't always been pretty. In fact, it's often been downright messy. Our founding fathers would probably be horrified by some of the stuff we get up to during campaign season. Imagine their faces. Our first presidential election back in 1788 to 89 was a real humdinger. It set the stage for centuries of political drama. George Washington, the guy who could have been king but said, "Nah, I'm good," ran basically unopposed. He was the unanimous choice. Talk about an ego boost. Imagine being so popular that no one even bothers to run against you. Back then, only white male landowners could vote. It was a very exclusive club. It was like a gentleman's club, but with less gambling and more powdered wigs. Over time, things changed. Slowly but surely, the right to vote expanded. Sometimes for the better, sometimes not so much. Each change brought its own set of challenges and controversies. We had mudslinging campaigns, rigged elections, and even a few duels thrown in for good measure. Politics was literally a contact sport. But hey, at least it wasn't boring. The drama kept everyone on their toes. The point is, our democracy wasn't built in a day. It took years of struggle and perseverance. It took a lot of fighting, a lot of protesting, and yes, a lot of voting to get where we are today. Every step forward was hard-won. So, the next time you're tempted to skip out on election day, remember those who came before you. They didn't have it easy. They fought hard for your right to complain about the government. Don't let them down. Exercise your right to vote and make your voice heard. Now let's talk about who gets to vote. It's a fundamental question that has shaped the very fabric of our nation. It's a tale as old as time, or at least as old as America. The journey of voting rights is a reflection of our evolving values and struggles. As we mentioned, early America wasn't exactly a beacon of inclusivity. The right to vote was a privilege reserved for a select few. Only white men with property could vote. This meant that the majority of the population had no say in the decisions that affected their lives. It was like a VIP club, but instead of bottle service, you got to decide the fate of the nation. This exclusivity was a stark contrast to the democratic ideals we cherish today. Thankfully, some folks realized that excluding, most of the population wasn't exactly the best look for a democracy. Activists and reformers began to push for broader voting rights. So, over the years, we expanded the franchise. Each step forward was a hard-fought victory, a testament to the resilience and determination of those who believed in equality. Black men got the right to vote in 1870, though Jim Crow laws made that incredibly difficult for decades. The struggle for true equality was far from over. Women finally joined the party in 1920 because apparently letting women vote was a more radical idea than, say, indoor plumbing. Their perseverance paved the way for future generations, and it didn't stop there. The fight for voting rights continued, reflecting the changing dynamics of our society. The voting age was lowered from 21 to 18 in 1971 because if you're old enough to be drafted, you're old enough to have a say in who's sending you to war. This was a significant milestone in the quest for a more inclusive democracy. The fight for voting rights continues to this day, with ongoing efforts to ensure fair and equal access to the ballot box for all Americans. The journey is ongoing, and each generation has a role to play in shaping the future of our democracy. Okay, so you're registered to vote. That's a big first step in participating in our democracy. Congratulations, you're officially more qualified to run the country than some of the people who actually do. It's a funny thought, but it underscores the importance of every single vote. But hold your horses, because before you can cast your vote for the big cheese in the Oval Office, you've got to navigate the wonderful world of primaries and caucuses. These are the preliminary rounds where each party selects its champion. Think of it like the Hunger Games, but instead of fighting to the death, you're just trying to choose which candidate from each party will make it to the general election. It's a battle of ideas, policies, and sometimes personalities. Primaries are like regular elections, with voting booths and everything. You go in, cast your vote, and hope your candidate comes out on top. Caucuses are more like town hall meetings, where you stand around arguing with your neighbors about who should be president. It's a more hands-on, community-driven process. Once the primaries and caucuses are done, we're left with the main event, the general election. This is where the real showdown happens. This is where the Electoral College comes in. But honestly, trying to explain that system is like trying to teach a cat to play chess. It's a complex and often confusing system that can leave even the most seasoned political analysts scratching their heads. Just know that it's weird, it's complicated, and it doesn't always make sense. But it's the system we have, and it's crucial to understand it as best as we can. But hey, that's American democracy for you. It's messy, it's complicated, but it's also a beautiful process that allows us to have a say in our government. So get out there and make your voice heard.